you know I have to ask this. You mentioned don't go it alone, don't create fractures where none are needed. We cannot avoid the question, the problem that has been created with President Trump's claims on Greenland. The Greenlandic government yesterday stated again they want their security to be determined by NATO, to be inside NATO. So this is going to be on your plate, even if you wish it weren't. And you said yesterday that it is not a crisis. So I would like to know what word you would use to describe what's happening now and how you can possibly explain that security inside the alliance is enhanced in any way by the US claims that they need to own Greenland, not just maybe boost their presence, but actually own the island. Can you just unpack that for us? It's really what's on everybody's minds here.
Well, let me start by saying that it was Donald Trump, the American president, who already, when he was Trump 45, so his previous presidency between 2016 and 2020, was making us aware collectively of the need to protect the high north in the Arctic. As you know, we have 8 high north countries in the Arctic. 1 is Russia, outside NATO, and 7 are inside NATO. That's Canada and the US. And then in Europe, it is Denmark through Greenland, and Iceland, Finland, Norway, and Sweden. These 7 countries are basically bordering on the Arctic. And it was President Trump in his first term, as I said, who basically alerted us to the fact that sea lanes are opening up, that Russia and China are more active, and that we have to do more there together. We had a very good discussion in NATO. It was around summer. We are now taking next steps to build on that, because we all agree in NATO, we all agree that when it comes to the protection of the Arctic, we have to work together. And that's exactly what we are doing. Then, of course, I'm never commenting when there are discussions between allies. That's not up for me to comment on, but I can assure you that there is complete agreement that when it comes to the assessment of the urgency of the security situation, not only in the Baltic Sea, not only on the eastern flank, but also in the Arctic and in the southern neighborhood, obviously also. But now, concentrating on the Arctic, we all work together.
Okay, but I really asked about Greenland specifically. Is there any single ally who would support the US forcibly taking Greenland?
Again, what we are discussing here is to make sure that the Arctic is safe, that we have 7 countries working together, including the United States. So we came together in NATO, in the North Atlantic Council. As you know, we work together as the ambassadors, and sometimes it is in the formation of foreign ministers or defense ministers, or the leaders when it is a summit. We call that the North Atlantic Council, a bit like you have the European Council in Europe. And the North Atlantic Council came together at the level of the ambassadors and decided that we have to step up collectively. We all agree on this. And when it comes now to the next steps, we also all agree that we have to take those next steps, and we are working on that diligently at the moment.
And Denmark did this. I mean, over the last year, it spent $14 billion additional dollars, including on defense for Greenland specifically. It has enhanced its missile defense. It's got new Arctic vessels. It's really spent a lot of money and put a lot of time, perhaps acknowledging that it should have been done earlier. You know, this is something that allies can agree on, but I still have to come back to the point. How would Arctic security be enhanced if the US invaded Greenland?
But again, and therefore my role is to make sure that the alliance as a whole is doing what is necessary to keep the whole of the alliance safe. And you're totally right on Denmark. Denmark is investing in Boeing P-8s. Denmark is investing in long-range
surveillance
drones.
Planes for those non-NATO people?
Yeah, they are also investing in more F-35s, and they are investing in air-to-air refueling. And all these capabilities you need, not only to keep Denmark safe, to keep NATO as a whole safe, but also to make sure that when it comes to the Arctic region, and for them, of course, a special priority when it comes to Greenland, to stay as safe as possible. But again, I never comment when there are discussions between allies. You know,
I'm doing
exactly.
My best.
So we agree. But I can tell you that when we talk about the security of the Arctic region, there is no disagreement within the alliance when it comes to that issue. And that is not only pertaining to the 7 who border on the Arctic, that's also also true for other allies who are very much involved here. You have seen comments from the Brits and from the Germans who all want to help here to make sure that the Arctic region, that is US, Canada and Europe, stays safe.
Well, I was just going to follow up. If you wanted to make any announcement that there's going to be something like an Arctic Sentry mission, it would be a good place to do it. You know, you had Baltic Sentry, Eastern Sentry when the need was acute. I mean, do you expect Arctic Sentry or Greenland Sentry to be stood up?
What I expect over the coming weeks is discussions how we will take the next step, and the next step has to be about, given the fact that we come to the same analysis, all NATO allies, and had a very good discussion on this around summer. We had a first debate again, it was now, I think last week in the North Atlantic Council on what the next step should be. And we are now working on that with all allies involved, particularly of course the 7 who are bordering on the Arctic.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you for being here with us today. And allow me to address you as the guy who's looking after all of us. And I just want you to notice, and I'm sure you have noticed it because it's been all over the place, that the people of Greenland, it's 56,000 people, are scared stiff. They're stressed, and they're more than just worried. You have put now also out there all the truths about Denmark has invested, we are all parts of NATO, we are all talking together. And yet, we have already an agreement. It's from 1951, you know that as well, between Denmark, the Kingdom of Denmark, and the US, allowing the US to deploy all the military forces they want. They had more than 1,000. Now they have 200. There are not one single Chinese or Russian ship around Greenland. Let that be stated as a fact. And there are, of course, also now conversations going on to try and make this go in a direction where we as allies, and I and my country and all the people in Greenland strongly believe that we are allies and that you are there to protect us. But please give us an indication of what can this alliance do if two countries within the alliance cannot agree. Thank you.
Yes, but Thank you so much for that very well put question. But you have to respect the fact that when there are discussions between allies, my role has to be to make sure we solve issues. And when it comes to the protection of the High North, that is my role. I can never comment on that. That's impossible in public. And what I'm doing, and with the US and Canada and all our allies in Europe, is to make sure that we not only concentrate about Greenland, this is an issue about the High North, this is an issue about the Arctic territory. Let's not be naive. Even if there are not that many ships sailing at the moment, we know that with the sea lanes opening up in the High North and the Arctic, and this is not only true for Greenland, this is true for the whole Arctic area. It's not only Russia active there, it is increasingly also China being active there. So when it comes to the Arctic region, we have to work together as an alliance, and that's exactly what we are doing, and we are now putting more details to the next step to make sure that we indeed can do that as a collective alliance. You can be sure of that.
But is it, sir, is it unthinkable, as unimaginable, the words we used to use, that one ally could take up arms against another inside NATO?
Again, my role as Secretary General, I'm very clear. I never ever comment when there are discussions within the alliance. We have discussions between Greece and Turkey. We have had discussions between other allies. What you then will see all my predecessors do, and myself, is never comment on that in public. You work behind the scenes, and when it comes to the issue at stake here, and I believe there is a bigger issue at stake here, and that is the defense of the High North, the defense of the Arctic area, there you can be sure that we do everything to protect the whole of the alliance. That's my role, to keep 1 billion people safe. And that is not only the eastern flank and the US and the southern flank, that is also the Arctic area.
You might want to take another drink, because I'm calling on Andrew. Andrew Gray from Reuters, please. Stand up. He's way in the back. He's back there. You know him. There he is.
Thank you, Andrew Gray from Reuters, Secretary General. I will keep this one short. I'm not asking you to comment on specific discussions, as you've already made clear that you won't do that. But in general, is it acceptable for one NATO ally to threaten the use of force to take the territory of another?
Well, I think it's the same question in another. So I refer to the previous answer.
Oh, that was it? Okay.
Sorry.
Can I take you two together because we've got a couple?
Yes, yes, of course.
I'm a bit late, but maybe
okay.
Welcome.
I have 5 or 10 minutes more.
Okay.
Welcome on this side of the town. Tell your people in NATO we are not far away from NATO, so they are all welcome. Okay.
It's a 20-minute drive.
Yes. Just a question coming back to Greenland. In September there was a NATO exercise, Arctic Light, and we were observer with some colleagues. We traveled to Greenland, but without the US. Why? Because we are, I hope so, still partners.
Hey, but here, of course, the Danish question was interesting, referring back to the 1951 treaty between Denmark and the United States. I think you said over 1,000. I believe the US had at one point thousands of Americans present in Greenland. At the moment, it's 150 on a rotational basis. And Denmark is completely relaxed about the fact that the US might in the future have much more presence in Greenland than they have at the moment.
Which begs the question of why Trump is making these threats.
And that is why I tell you that it is so good that as an alliance, we not only concentrate on Greenland, we concentrate on the whole of the High North. Because this is not only Greenland. This is also Iceland, this is Finland, this is Norway, this is Sweden, this is Canada, this is the United States. It is making sure that the whole of the Arctic area is safe. And we always look at the map, of course, the Mercator map as we have it since 1600, as we see it. But when you look at it from above, you can see the threats which might emerge if these sea lanes open up in the coming years.
Okay, she's not happy with that, but we're running out of time.
I cannot leave this room if you're not happy. That's the deal.
Oh.
Yeah, but not in all exercises, all nations always participate. But the US is really very active in many exercises in Europe and of course in NATO territory.